welcome to another day in Estonia. Today we're heading to the Russian border. It's a town called Narva and there's a castle there. A castle that looks over a castle in Russia. So that's going to be cool. Come along, it'll be fun. Our first stop was this town of Selime on the Baltic coast. At first it looks like just another quiet seaside town. Pretty streets, grand old buildings, people going about their day. But the truth is, for decades, almost nobody outside the Soviet Union even knew this place existed. It wasn't on the maps. You couldn't just wander in. The whole town was fenced off with barbed wire, guarded by checkpoints, an entire community living in isolation. But why? That's the part that drew me in. Why hide an entire town? Why surround it with impressive Stalinist boulevards and Well, here's the twist. Selime was one of the Soviet Union's most secret industrial cities, dedicated to uranium enrichment and rare metals for the nuclear program. In other words, part of the Cold War arms race, hidden in plain sight. It wasn't until Estonia regained independence in 1991 that this town finally opened up to the world. And now, here we are, standing in the middle of it. That's quite cool being able to walk around a town that was completely cut off during Soviet times. We're allowed in there now. We're walking around like it's never been top secret. It's kind of cool. There's something surreal about that. We're just basically running alongside the Russian border now. It's Russia just across the river there. Our next stop was Narva, right on the border with Russia, separated only by a river. We walked along the river, looking across at Russia. Just over the water were colourful homes, or mansions really, judging by their size. It looked like any other well-off European city, which I guess it is. But the best part was still to come. These are Swedish lion statues which mark the site of the Battle of Narva in 1700. The originals were destroyed during World War II, but these lions are symbols of friendship between Estonia and Sweden. All the people up there walking between Russia and Estonia, little walkway across the river. So that's the Russian castle over there. Estonia castle here. Got Russians over there admiring our castle. We're over here admiring their castle. And we can't go over there without a visa. Going up the castle. This is the Narva Castle, also known as Herman Castle, and it's been here for over 700 years. We wandered around with hardly any tourists around. Russia's castle is just across the river, only 150 metres away. And the best part, there's hardly anyone here. I just can't understand why there's not more tourists here. I mean, this place is way cool. I mean, we've got a castle in Estonia, and that's Russia. A castle in Russia, just there. This place is incredible. And the castle's free to visit as well. What is this? Oh, this is freaky. Oh. is the town of Narva. It's a really neat town. The castle's awesome. It's a beautiful walk along the waterfront there, and you're just looking over at Russia. It's amazing. Narva was once one of the most beautiful Baroque cities in Northern Europe, but during World War II, it was bombed almost completely flat. Then the Soviets rebuilt it with apartment blocks, and it now has an almost entirely Russian-speaking population. Taking a walk to have a look at a Russian Orthodox convent. Check this out. The onion shape of the dome is used to help snow and rain shed more easily, especially in snowy regions like Russia. Very peaceful here at the convent. Massive wood pile here. How on earth do they take the wood out of it with it all crumbling down? Be like a Jenga, wouldn't it? Beautiful grounds. It's that time of day. We're looking for somewhere to camp. I think this might be something coming up. We haven't actually free camped in Estonia yet. We didn't pay for camping the whole time we're in Norway or Finland, but we haven't really found anything so far. So if we find something tonight, it'll be our first night free camping. Found a place, looks very busy, and I think there might be lots of mozzies. So it looked like a nice spot, a bit too crowded, and I'm just seeing mosquitoes everywhere. I don't know what's wrong with us. We're not proper campers, eh?
I say it's you.
Might say that's me. You saying you don't mind the mosquitoes?
Not fine inside the van and they're outside.
Place in Finland, we stopped, and they're all trying to get into the van through the vent. That was scary. We eventually found a nice spot beside Lake Peipus, and most importantly, not under mozzie-infested trees. We're just taking a walk down to a beach which has got squeaky sand. We'll see if it's as squeaky. It makes apparently an eerie humming, so we'll see if it's as cool as it sounds.
I don't think it's squeaky, I think it's singing.
Singing sands. Yes, we're going to a beach with singing sand. That's it. I think we're going to hear anything. It's too much noise from the waves. This isn't the sea, by the way. This is a lake. We're on the northern shore of Lake Peipus, where there's a continuous stretch of sandy beach that runs for 32 kilometres. Yes, a 32 kilometre stretch of sand on a lake. And half of this lake is owned by Russia. So it's best not to get dragged too far out on your windsurfer. Unless you have a visa, of course, then it's probably fine. And on the other side of this lake, or the other half of this lake, belongs to Russia. Well, there was no singing sand. Apparently only does it on certain days, and probably when it's windy and a bit rough, you're probably not going to hear it, which is a shame. So we're just following the onion route. It's a route where, well, they grow a lot of onions, and it's also a whole lot of old believer communities. And the old believer communities are quite interesting, and Mike's going to tell you why.
In the 1600s, the Roman Catholic Church were going through some changes, and the old believers didn't like the changes. So they broke away from the Roman Church and formed their own groups in their own villages, continue their olden customs.
So yeah, so all these villages along here are mostly old believer villages. Grow a lot of their own stuff here. They grow onions and cucumbers is the other thing. And fish. They don't grow fish. So apparently some things to eat along here is an onion pie and a fish pie. These are two things I want to try. So I'm hoping we can find someone selling them. Floating sauna on the side here. watchtowers along here, but I guess it makes sense. I mean, Russia is just the other side of that water, or halfway across that water.
The lake is so large that any point on the shoreline you cannot see the opposite shore, and it's the 5th largest lake in Europe.
On this trip I've become obsessed with storks. High up in their nests with their giant babies that look too big to still be living at home. But they don't leave the nest until late July, and we're still in June. Yes, I'm a bit behind with the videos, but I am hoping at some stage to see a youngster take its first flight. And I'm working on a children's story in my head about a young stork growing up in Estonia. There's the fishing village, is right on the water. Look at that one, all for do a upper. Buy one to do up, Mike. Imagine living here. How cool would this be? Lake right there. Russia, far side of the lake. So we just went and had a look in the shop, and they got some like weird looking stuff. And we found some not so weird, but look like Russian chips. So we thought we'd try the Russian chips. 100% natural. Bacon flavour.
We're in the wilds of Estonia. We can find dirt roads anywhere.
We're at the halfway mark. We're allowed 90 days in the Schengen zone of Europe, and we've used up half of it already. We navigated towards Valga, a town on the border with Latvia, only 1 hour away. But then I decided on a detour to walk to some sandstone cliffs. I think I walked down to see some sandstone cliffs. It's still in Estonia. Yeah, a bit of a wet old day. A few mozzies around. I didn't bring my head net. Damn! The trail wound through a pine forest alongside a river. So we found some of the sandstone cliffs just here. That looks pretty cool, eh? Nice reflections. Along the way we found interesting local folklore. We stopped at the Sacred Mother Spring, where people traditionally came to collect water for its healing powers. Then there was the Devil's Cellar. Legend says the devil once lived there.
How are sandstone cliffs made? They'd be like this sand. Layers and layers of sand deposited over thousands, if not millions of years. Along comes an ice age. Lots of ice pushes it down, compresses it, makes it into like a hard rock. Presses all the water, moisture, everything out there. Ice age melts, along comes a river, washes its groove, and there you are. You've got your sandstone cliffs. Different colours, different minerals that are mixed up in the sand.
The walk was lovely, apart from the swarm of mozzies tagging along. Strangely enough, it was still an hour's drive to Valga. That was a nice walk to start our day. Now we're just heading on, continuing south. The rest of the afternoon was spent making our way towards Valga. We started the ritual of looking for somewhere to camp for the night. The first place I navigated to was a bog, and not in a good way. The second place was overgrown, and quite possibly taking us to another bog. We eventually found a nice place on the edge of a gravel road. It also had a bog, but the good kind, a drop toilet. There's a watchtower there, so of course we had to climb it. The watchtower was 25 metres tall, and it was quite scary climbing up, especially when the wind picked up. Climbing up this watchtower, it's hard work. And there's still more to go up. But the view from the top was incredible, and we're still 30 minutes from Valga. Maybe we'll get there tomorrow. Bit of a wild woolly night at that little campsite. There's a tree down back there, lucky it wasn't across the road. I always wonder when you park somewhere like that your road might be a bit slippery or flooded to get out the next day, but it doesn't look too bad at this stage. Back on the tar seal. Welcome to another day in Estonia. Today we're heading to the border town of Valga, which is on the border of Latvia. Then I'll probably stop there, have a look around. It's not a very nice day. It's cold. Oh, they're gorgeous. So we're just coming into the town of Valga, and this town's got some really interesting history, so I'll tell you a bit more about that when we get there. So we're just in the town of Valga in Estonia, and it's a border town with Valka in Latvia. It used to be one big town called Walk when it was ruled by the Russians. In 1920, when Latvia and Estonia gained their independence, they basically just split it down the middle. So, you know, if your brother lived on the other side of the river, he could well end up living in a different country than you, just by, yeah, interesting. So we're just at the border with Valga and Valka. So Estonia this side, Latvia this side. And I come in here to get out of the wind, but it smells like pee. On the Latvian side of the border, there's some statues of people celebrating. And on the Estonian side, there's an old building. Oh look, you can swing in Estonia and I can swing in Latvia. It's a bit wet. No, I'm not sitting. So we took a little stroll around Valga and we even took a little walk into Valka. Now we're driving into Valka and then we'll be in Latvia, and there's a sign. Join us in the next episode where we visit Latvia and explore a castle by candlelight. And they've given us a lantern.